Today in the show, we're going to be talking about the Super Young Team. If you didn't know that these characters were supposed to be the fifth world incarnation of the Forever People, then this show is for you. So, the Super Young Team, stars of the limited series Final Crisis Aftermath Dance, and they are the one team that I really want to write one day. These characters are inspired by American superheroes and Japanese pop culture, and they're all about Generation X and Y becoming heroes. These characters have some of the most unique personalities, the best costumes, the best code names. They are so cool, it is insane. So the team is led by Most Excellent Superbat. His real name is Heino Okota. He has my favorite superhero costume of all time, hands down, and he's inspired by Superman and Batman, and this is reflected on his costume while still giving him like this J-pop flair, and I love it. So Most Excellent Superbat doesn't have any powers. He's just rich, which I know I criticized Green Team Teen Trillionaires for doing, but Most Excellent Superbat actually has a vast knowledge of the financial world, and he actually uses this to his advantage, which is really cool. But what I love about this character is that he's got a very similar physical build to Tim Drake, but unlike Tim Drake, he is super vain and is always tweeting. To give you an example of how vain this hero is, one time when he was at a cosplay contest, there was a girl cosplaying as him, and he was so attracted to this girl dressed up as him that he went off to go and have sex with her, and then he tweeted, "I'm so turned on right now." Next, we have Shy Crazy Lolita Canary, and she is tiny, and I don't mean tiny as in little person, I mean she can fit in somebody's hand. Her powers are actually really cool. Number one, she can fly, which is awesome, and number two, she can actually create a sonic scream like Black Canary. But unlike Black Canary, her scream is multiple voices at multiple different frequencies, all saying "sumimasen," meaning excuse me. Next, we have Shiny Happy Aquazon, real name Kim Kimura, and she is actually the daughter of Junior Waveman Kimura, one of Japan's biggest heroes. Her powers are that she is an amphibian, meaning she can live on both land and water, but she also has a range of weapons at her disposal. Next, we have Big Atomic Lantern Boy, who is actually second in command to the team. He has this big lens on his chest which can shoot energy blasts, but he actually joined the team because he has a crush on Happy Aquazon. Next, we have possibly the best named character on the team, Well-Spoken Sonic Lightning Flash. As his name implies, he is a speedster. Now don't get his powers mixed up with the Flash or Impulse or anything like that. He can only run up to 500 miles per hour, which is still really cool. So the team would first appear in Final Crisis number 2, and we don't know when they formed, but we do know why. Every member of this team has a totally different personality to one another, but they all do have one goal in common. They want fame. They want to be famous heroes. They want the glitz, they want the glamour, and they want the attention. So keeping that in mind, they've done a few good deeds here and there, but most of their time was actually spent flouncing around the meta-human clubs of Tokyo, which older heroes really looked down upon. Considering they had done good deeds, they still didn't have fame, and Superbat was really frustrated by this and was just waiting for one thing to come around to make the group famous. And that is where Sunny Sumo comes on the team. Now, Sunny Sumo actually used to be a part of the Forever People, and he is awesome, so the Super Young Team wanted his autograph, but they were pretty much told to go away. Then, when Sunny Sumo and his ally were about to leave Japan to go and help out with Final Crisis, they would be attacked by Darkseid's Justifiers, and the Super Young Team would turn up and save the two of them in their Wonder Wagon. By the time the team arrived at Checkmate HQ 1 month later, Final Crisis was already in its final stages. Then, after Final Crisis, the Super Young Team would have their own limited series called Final Crisis Aftermath Dance, and each issue was called a dance move. So at the end of every issue, it would say next month's dance move, and then a title, as opposed to next month's issue and a title, which I thought was really clever and really cool and really captured the J-pop feel that this series was going for. And one thing that I love about this series is that in every single issue, Superbat would tweet his thoughts about what was going on, and that's exactly what kids do these days. It's so clever and so well written. So, Dance starts off with the super young team getting a satellite HQ from a corporation on the condition that they hold parties on a regular basis, which annoys Superbat to no end. Their first party would actually end in disaster. First off, Rising Sun would gatecrash the party and start accusing the super young team of all kinds of crap. And next off, the publicist would actually turn into a monster and try to rape Aquazon. While all this is going on, Superbat is on his own, and the ghost of Ultimon Alpha is trying to tell him to go back to Japan and be the hero that Japan needs, and he doesn't understand that because he's got fame stuck on his mind. It turns out that a lot of stuff is going on in Japan at the moment, and the people of Japan really don't want anyone noticing, so they're using the super young team as a worldwide distraction so people take their eyes off of Japan. Eventually, the satellite HQ would be taken away from the super young team because their publicist says satellite HQs are passé. While all this is going on, the team are actually staying in Las Vegas, which they refer to as Las Volga, and they're being followed by a camera crew so they can have their own reality TV show. The publicist then brings up the idea of the team being sponsored by a company, and Aquazon agrees to be the face of this, so she goes off with the publicist. It's also around this time that Lightning Flash notes that there are no news feeds coming from Japan, which the team kind of blow off at this stage, but it is a little bit concerning. So Aquazon is supposed to promote this item called Oxygen, which is this pocket-sized canister of gas. Meanwhile, the super young team find out about a villain that lives in Las Vegas called Doc Dredd, so they go after him and beat him up, but before doing so, they tie up their camera crew. The best part about this is that once the team win their fight, they say it is the most fun that they've had in ages. So Aquazon stands in front of a crowd and she promotes the gas to all of them, and they use it, and it turns out whoever uses the gas becomes a puppet of something called the Brain Drain. The Brain Drain tells the crowd to rampage, and they do so. Meanwhile, back with the rest of the super young team, they use Doc Dredd's computer to try and get a signal into Japan, and it's being blocked. No signals can get in, and nothing can get out. The team then get a local news feed about what's happening to Aquazon, so they go to save her, and then they go to the manufacturing plant for the oxygen canisters. And they find out that everything is automated, but in the middle of the factory, there is this egg-shaped thing. The team break into the egg-shaped thing, and it turns out that the egg-shaped thing is the Brain Drain, which in turn is pure dark thought. So the team destroy it. Now, through this whole series, Superbat is actually being haunted by Ultimon Alpha, who's telling Superbat to go back to Japan and be the hero that he is supposed to be, and to forget about the whole fame thing. This doesn't quite make sense to Superbat because he was brought up in a time where fame equals hero and hero equals fame. So Superbat thinks that he needs to become famous before returning to Japan. Eventually though, the super young team would realize the only thing that they've done successfully is hurt their reputation while they're with the publicists, so they decide to break up. Naturally, the publicist just sees this as the biggest scoop of his career, so he tries to go to his higher-ups, but it turns out they've all been killed by Rising Sun. Most Excellent Superbat goes back to the Most Excellent Superbat cave to have some Most Excellent Superbat water, and it's here that Ultimon Alpha continues to haunt him and tell him to become the hero that he is supposed to be, and Superbat still doesn't understand this. Also, Aquazon, after leaving the super young team, decides to join her father's team, Big Science Action. A whole mess of things would happen that are very entertaining to read, but not really relevant in the long run. But what you need to take note of is that Most Excellent Superbat would find out that Japan has actually been hiding itself to recover from the crisis without scrutiny, even though it wasn't hit harder than anyone else. Superbat decides that something needs to be done about this, so he reforms the super young team, but then they find out that Rising Sun is attacking Midway City. The team goes to attack Rising Sun, and he destroys their Wonder Wagon upon their arrival, so naturally a huge battle would break out, and Lolita Canary instantly gets a crucial hit. it. Big Atomic Lantern then does a full body scan on Rising Sun and finds that there is something lodged in his brain, controlling him and enhancing his powers, and it's Mr. Mind. Sonic Lightning Flash serves as a distraction while Big Atomic Lantern shrinks the rest of the team so they can enter inside of Rising Sun and destroy Mr. Mind from the inside out. And that is exactly what they do. As Mr. Mind is destroyed, Rising Sun releases flames in his entire body, and Aquazon actually uses water to protect the team so they can get out unscathed. And after this, the Justice League arrive to take away Rising Sun's body. What I love about the team meeting the Justice League is what Superbat takes away. He says they probably were the Justice League, but I didn't recognize any of them, so they don't matter. At the end of the comic, it is revealed that Japan cut itself off because in Superbat's mind, it's a very paranoid nation. So to stop this from happening again, he buys Japan, thus rendering the whole plot pointless. But it is worth saying that the Super Young team do stay together to protect Japan from any future threats. And that's it until the New 52, where they haven't exactly been featured properly yet. Lolita Canary was in Batman Incorporated, working with Batman of Japan. These characters need their own series that is on the scale of the Teen Titans or something crazy like that. These characters are that good. This is a very skimmed overview of Final Crisis Aftermath Dance, but it's totally worth picking it up. Even if you don't really like the story, the art is amazing. To give you a frame of reference, if you liked the Teen Titans cartoon, just think of this as a slightly more mature version of that. It is that awesome. I want to write this team so bad one day. I've already written like 20 test scripts just for them, but naturally they're unsolicited, so I can't exactly submit them to DC. And also, the art in these comics are the type of art that I'm trying to find for my comic, which is super hard to get a hold of, but it's so worth it. Seriously, just pick up this comic. I've left a link down below to where you can pick it up. It's not available on any digital outlets. You can only buy it in physical form, which is great. It's super effective! Okay guys, that is it for today. If you think I missed anything important about the Super Young team, please let me know in the comments down below. Also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history, and also don't forget to check out my Kickstarter, subscribe to my gaming channel, like me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.